What do you want to talk about today?
Yeah, I want to talk about our friends at Share Your Genius because they sponsor and produce this show. And without them, we would have a lot more work to do. And so we're forever thankful for them. If you have a show or you want to start a show and you want it produced at legendary quality, go check out our friends at Share Your Genius. Tell them Nick and Erica sent you.
Hell yes.
What do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about recurring problems versus non-recurring problems and the mismatch or match thereof of the engagement models, right? So like project-based engagement models versus retainer-based engagement models.
Yep.
This is something that has come up quite a bit lately in conversations, and as we audit these solos and micro agencies kind of on the scale-up side of things, there's an interesting mismatch that's been happening, or that's been becoming more visible. You know, at a lower revenue volume, when it's not that it's just you, but the volume is low, it's not there's really very little pain in the business. But as you start to generate more revenue and you take on more responsibility, it becomes much more acute. And so let's describe this. Not every problem recurs every month. So let's give some tangible examples here. A website redesign is not a problem that you need to solve in an ongoing, like every single month, in that once the site is designed, the problem has been solved. Positioning is a one-time problem. Not that you don't need to reposition or do that work later on. It's just like, it's not like a problem that needs to be solved on the first of every month. It doesn't restart. Whereas demand generation folks, they're in a great position because they solve a recurring problem, because in the first of every month, we need more leads. Ghostwriters and social media folks are in the similar position because every day, every month, we need more content. We need to publish more stuff, right? So recurring problem, we need this thing in an ongoing way. One-time problem, once it's gone, it's gone. Now this is like kind of obvious on the surface, but what we find is that there are many folks that mismatch the problem to the solution or their process. So let's think about this, right? Some people need messaging help. Plenty of people, lots of people need messaging help.
Everybody needs messaging help.
Messaging help is a one-time problem. Someone comes in, they do the thing, they help you out, they give you the materials, and you're done.
Yep.
And then you move on with your life. Maybe you have people that can bring it to life and create the thing and use the messaging that was created, whatever. But what we see is like messaging folks tend to come in and try to do like retainer-based ongoing services. Not many people need a messaging strategist on retainer, because once we have the messaging, we have the messaging. Right.
This is so interesting. I have so many questions here. Like,
let's go.
I want to know, I have an opinion and then I have questions. I don't think people, I certainly didn't. So when I say I don't think people, I'm speaking from personal experience and anecdotal experience. I don't think people think when they go solo, do I want to solve a project-based or recurring-based problem? Like,
they definitely don't.
That question never came to mind. It was, what am I good at and how can I monetize this? Like, that was 100%. The question I asked myself. And you can, as you were saying, like, you can cobble your way up to 20K months doing shit like that.
Yeah, you can get really far.
Yeah, like you can do, some of it might be project-based, some of it might be recurring, like, you don't know, whatever. You'll figure it out. It's custom for every client. Like, you got the skills, you're smart, cool.
And you have the bandwidth, you have the space.
Yeah. It wasn't until I started to ask myself, what kind of problem do I want to solve? As opposed to like, what can I do? That then I was like, okay, well then how can I do that? And it is just personally, again, so much more profitable and easier to sell a recurring problem because you have the beauty of the retainer. And there are some agencies out there, we talk about Fletch all the time on this podcast, like they're solving a project problem. People come in, you get a 2-week sprint, you get out. Those problems are beautiful in their own way because you don't have to deal with like the mental BS that comes with some of like recurring problems, you know, like especially if you're working for a company and there's a lot of, you know, decisions by committee and all that stuff. Like if you're hired for a project, there's a scope of work.
You're in, you're out.
You're in, you're out. Like that's a beautiful thing. Except you need 10, 20, 30x more clients when you're doing project-based than recurring-based, which means you have to market the shit out of your business in order to do it. It's a completely different game. And I just don't think people think about what that feels like. I've done this before too. I've launched tons of products. I've done tons of projects. Like it feels so hard after a while. Like you get this thing called launch burnout where you're just like constantly talking about your thing and you always need more people. And you're so reliant on new business. Like word of mouth cannot take you as far with projects as it can with recurring.
Fletch is always such a great example and is always so interesting to discuss because, and I told Anthony this in the first message exchange we ever had. I was like, your model is fascinating to me because no one else is capable of doing it, of deploying this and seeing it through successfully because they can't keep up with the volume.
What does he say about that?
They're fantastic marketers.
Yeah.
That's it. Like that.
And I think most of their business comes from LinkedIn. There's 2 of them.
Yeah.
And they're just ripping on LinkedIn every day.
Yeah. They're the main 2, but they have 2 employees now.
Right.
But they're really ripping. So a lot of it is word of mouth. See, okay, there's so many variables here that need to be taken into account as to why and how I think their situation works and why it won't work for most people. And also why it's like a frustrating thing to experience. It builds complexity into your life in a lot of ways that most people you don't expect because of like the volume and just the natural rotation that's baked into the business. So let's lay it out. Fletch solves the positioning problem. Positioning problem, like we said, one-time problem. So they have a one-time solution. We'll rewrite your homepage and reposition your business, rewrite your homepage in 2 weeks. Done. Okay. All of that makes a bunch of logical sense, especially as a buyer. We have to remember is that the mismatch between the thing I'm trying to do and the thing that you're trying to sell is friction. If it's that confusing or if you don't understand why someone would solve the problem that way, even if they think you get the problem, like they'll give you a shot, you will certainly get an at-bat. But odds are is that if the solution is confusing or doesn't match up in the way that most people expect it to, you're going to lose some deals. So one-time problem, positioning problem, one-time solution, positioning, sprint. Makes a lot of sense. They are marketing furiously. They are content creation machines. I don't know if they have ghostwriters. Doesn't really matter. They're capable of producing a extraordinarily high level of content, like high volume of content that is extraordinarily high level. Like it's not shit content that they're not smearing bullshit all over LinkedIn. When you read it, you learn something. Anthony's been on a tear lately, which has been hilarious to watch. He's just been shit posting, trying to get the AI bots to engage, which I just think is funny. But for the most part, it is high level, heady business content. It like really makes you think, or it provides you a lens on the thing that you would not normally have, reinforces their point of view, makes the problem they're trying to solve highly visible, and for exactly the type of business that they solve it for. Does all of the things, and they do it all the fucking time. Most people are not capable of producing at that volume and at that quality.
Their writing reads like they spend hours thinking about these things every week, if not every day. But the reason why they can do that is because they frameworked the shit out of what they're doing. They follow the same play every single time. So they don't have to think super hard. Okay, custom project. let me throw like a bunch of brain cycles at this and do a whole bunch of research into a thing that I don't understand just so I can deliver this work. No, it's the same play. They can do it in their sleep at this point.
So it makes it easy for them to, so it simplifies delivery. A lot of people would take months to do a positioning project. They can do it in 2 weeks. Great, easy peasy. And then just that experience alone, the simplicity and the fact that their point of view is so clear, makes it easy to drive word of mouth. There's like the content being as heady as it is also makes it highly shareable. Like there's a bunch of stuff there. It's very visual, the work that they do. So like that's also an advantage that people don't usually see. It's like they work on websites so you can see it. There's a simple before and a simple after.
I'm sorry, we have to pause on that. That is so important. I can maybe do like with like fancy design, like before and after edits, but it's not like super easy to show. It's nuanced. You can't show anything. Like your work is completely like coaching, like the magic happens in the conversation and the back and forth. The outcome, you can show the outcome, like a new website, like a new offer, but it's really hard for you to show the magic of what you're doing in a design.
Yeah, just a visual represent. That's why I share a lot of screenshots. It's mostly like emotional and aspirational outcomes. Like, yes, the financials there, but I got to lean way more heavily into that. Like, that's the visual. It's like you see someone send a message that says, I'm sitting in a restaurant on the coast of Italy, and just, again, inbounds are pouring in. It's like that type of message is that's how I make the work that we do like more visible and tangible in a way. It's like you can see that message and go, I would like to sit on the coast of Italy. And that just was like, this lined up perfectly because he took a vacation like right in between like this situation. So it just kind of lined up and made that nice. But he does work a lot. It's not like he's like digital nomading in Italy or something like that. Anyway, back to the point here. High volume content, high quality content, highly visual, like the stars align on all of those things. The price is right. Like there's almost zero friction in the price point of the way that they operate. And then their capacity is outrageous. So all of those things match up perfectly in order for them to build this business. Now,
most people can't do that though.
It's a volume game.
That. So let's talk about why, because we just made them sound amazing, and I think most people
play is great.
Like most people look at them and they go, "I wish I was Fletch." How many people have said, "I wish I was Fletch" to us in the past couple of months? So many people.
Like everyone.
Make the argument for why you don't want to be Fletch, because I actually don't. Like I personally don't want to play that game. I've played that game. It's exhausting. I don't want to be Fletch.
It's just much harder to operate at that level than they make it seem. It's just flat out. So think about it this way. If you need 20, how many customers do most people generate in a year? Maybe 20. They generate 20 enough. A month. No, it's like 20, like maybe you're doing longer projects. Maybe if you're doing coaching or some other type of consulting, like most of the souls we know, it's like 4 or 5 and they're on with them for a long period of time and they have their core portfolio and they like rotate one in and out. Every 6 to 9 months, they might have to refill a slot or something, but the attrition is super low. Yep. And the retainer, like the ongoing service fee is very high. Now there's plenty of problems with that business model. Like a lot of people feel, I don't want to say insecure or like self-conscious, but there's like this thing of like, am I delivering enough value? Am I creating enough value for this client to continue to justify the rate? Like, are they going to feel like they're not getting enough or getting what they paid for? Blah, blah, blah. Like there are a lot of limiting beliefs in terms of the value of the work we deliver and the head trash that exists when you operate in that other kind of model. But that's a different thing to discuss. I'm just trying to say is that it's not, this sucks and this is perfect. Like there are pros and cons to each. The major drawback for normal people, me included, us included, is that the volume, it's just, how most people cannot generate 20 clients a month.
I don't want to, even if I could. I also
don't want to.
It's exhausting.
I mean, the operating model and the engagement model, like you have, like it must be highly standardized and highly automated, and the operations must be fucking on point.
On point.
And that's like a whole other skill set that is like, I'm really good at positioning, and it's like, I'm not great at business operations. How do we deal with this in order to earn more money? Now, like, people's opinions of when enough is enough. How much money do we, like, when do we just stop? Like, when are we good? All of that aside, I think people have aspirations, and I don't tell people when to stop building their business.
Everyone has different goals. Like, if you're trying to grow something to sell it,
Yeah.
that's completely different than if you're trying to grow something just to kind of like have a lifestyle business and chill a bit, you know? And then there's people in the middle, like I feel like you and me, like I want to make a bunch of money and keep most of it, you know? And so I also don't want to scale to the point where I'm ending up putting less in my pocket, because I got to put more in someone else's pocket to help me scale to a revenue number. You know, like,
yeah, well, that's the agency, like the concept of the traditional marketing agency as we know it, I think is going to go extinct because the margins are so low. Like, it's a highly labor intensive business. Well,
I mean, if AI gets its shit together.
Yeah. But I mean, I doubt you'll see very many agencies like truly get there.
I'm curious to why. I'm going to be watching that space though. I'm super curious.
Well, you're going to see more of what we do, more of what Fletch does. You're going to see small teams throw up some pretty big numbers and have a pretty large capacity.
True.
So it's not all sunshine and rainbows trying to keep up with that volume. It's really freaking hard to do. And it's at some point, it's just, I think this is where the rubber meets the road for people, and they have to decide, like, how do I want to grow this thing? So an interesting thing that's been happening lately is like they put out this like call to people, and they were like, put your pricing in your homepage. Like, you won't do it. They like basically dared a bunch of people to put pricing not on their homepage, under their hero on their homepage, like right at the top of the site. Put your pricing right at the top of your site. And a bunch of people did it. And I think that's amazing, because I love price transparency as much as the next person. I think that that's a great thing. I think it's good for business. I think it's good for the world. The problem is that I think what ended up happening is that a lot of people inadvertently created or like converted to this productized service model, this project-based model, and don't realize it yet.
Okay, so say that we did that, for example, because we're not a project-based model. What's the downside of doing that? Like, you're saying they did it and they don't realize it. What's going to happen to them in your opinion? Was it a mistake?
It's not that it's a mistake. I think they're just going to probably find out that I think we're going to see people backpedal on this. Not the price transparency, but the way the pricing is. Like, it was all tiered out based on size. I mean, it was carbon copy, which, like, hey, the design is good. Like, nothing against the design of it and the structure of it. I think, and honestly, like, the people who did it laid out the information in a clear way. Like, they're doing all the things that I think are net positive, except for it's all the Fletch model, where it's like, get this thing in this short amount of time for this amount of money. And they're signing themselves up for like capacity. Like they're saying, oh, well, I can deliver, like, aspirationally it's, oh, I can deliver 20 of these a month. It's like, okay, cool. How many leads can you generate a month though? How many can you close in a month?
Oh, that's such
and then it's like,
there's such a gap
3.
between what you think you can do and then like your knowledge of how hard it's going to be to fill that. Like, it's so much harder than people think.
Yeah, and that's it. This is a pure marketing play. Like, in order to get the volume, you need the traffic. And in order to get the traffic, you got to be a legendary content marketer. And even the most legendary content marketers, like, there's a reason that most people with audiences as the size of Anthony and Robert, the people with that size audience start selling low ticket courses and stuff, because that's
you might as well capitalize on the attention.
Right. It's like, it's just, you reduce friction that way. And I respect that they haven't done it, because also, like, the bigger your audience grows, generally the bell curve starts to shift to lower maturity. Mm-hmm. Just generally, I think this is not quantitative analysis. This is
I would agree
my
with you.
qualitative analysis
From experience, I would agree with that.
just from what I hear from people. Like I don't have a big audience, but everyone I talk to people who do. I get to interview them on my other show, and they tend to say similar things.
Yep.
You hear like anecdotally, you hear a lot of people with a big audience say things like, "I don't like this audience anymore," or "I built the wrong audience." You hear just like things like that.
It's tricky. I've been there. I'm there. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing right or wrong about it, but so you tend to see people with bigger audiences shift into products versus productized services. So what I'm trying to avoid here is just like the potential is absolutely there. When they map it all out and they go, oh, we can do 20 of these a month. We'll sell them at $5K a pop. Great living. Let's sell 20 of them.
Yeah.
You sell 3. And it's like, that's not that the selling 3 is a bad month in that respect. Like, hey, if you sell 3 things at $5,000 a piece each month, that doesn't suck.
Yeah, but then you have to sell 3 every single
Well, you're sitting on your
month
hands a
for
lot.
the rest of your life. It is exhausting.
That's the other thing. Like you need many new people. And so this is another interesting part about the business that Fletch built that people see and they try to emulate, which is one, they have unlimited access to their audience because their audience is obsessed with LinkedIn. Not every audience is as obsessed as startup founders are, or tech company founders, and
True.
or like leadership people, tech company leaders, depending on the size of the org, whatever. Not everyone's that obsessed, but also like they could sell 20 homepages a month for the rest of their life, and if
they keep creating amazing content.
If they keep creating, I mean, yeah, they have like an element of word of mouth definitely takes hold for them.
Sure.
Like people just talk about them the way that we are. So like talking about them helps them generate business, which is a lot of what they're going for. But you have to continue to create the content to do that. But they could, just from a volume perspective, do 20 new homepages for the rest of their life and still not even scratch the surface of the number of available customers. There's a very large pool of customers that are available to them that they could potentially work with. And I think there's also this other element, which is like they have access, like the door is wide open for them. On the other hand, other people building a similar model that require high throughput also end up in a situation where they don't have the volume of access. So it's like traffic is one thing. It's just traffic. Let's just call it agnostic. Just there's traffic. The number is large enough to support the thing I'm trying to do. Then it's drill in, is the number of that number, what percentage of them are the right people? Do I have access to those people? Are they here? That's really where I think the rubber is going to meet the road, or where the wheels are just going to fall off for people. So I'm skeptical of this model being a successful model for people. I'm not saying like my opinion is build a recurring business model. I think that's just the most realistic thing for people.
But also like it has to match the kind of business that you want to build, and a lot of that has to match your personality and like what you wanted, like how you want to go through your day and what you want to do.
If you don't love creating content and you don't have a super strong point of view like these guys do about the problem, it's going to be a grind.
Yeah. And even if you hire like us, where I'm going to be doing your content, for example, like the kind of content that I'm creating for you does not need to be the kind that gets 10,000 plus impressions and 100 plus likes on every single LinkedIn post, because that's what you need in order to keep reaching new people. Like you just need to reach the right people a few times a quarter and you're good. And like, that's the point. It's easier. It's mentally so much easier. I've been on all sides of this. Like I've only been working as a solo for myself for like almost 2 years. I've been doing the whole audience building thing for 3 years. I've launched like 10 courses. I've done all the things. Like I'm trying to grow my newsletters, whatever, like you name it, I've tried it. And let me just tell you from experience, every single person that I know that lives in the volume game where you just keep needing more and more people hates that shit. They hate the grind. They hate that they have to be on social so much. They end up getting really bored of it. Like, it's exhausting. Being able to just post a couple quality things a few times a week that land with the right people so you can get recurring business that you can rely on. You can actually forecast, like, whoa, it's just better for me. My point is you have to think about, like, what do you want for you? Like, what matches your hustle? What matches your personality? What matches the things that, like, light you up? And I just don't think enough people know to ask themselves these questions when they go solo, because it's just shiny objects. Let me figure it all out, like, fine. But when you get to a certain point where you are making good money and you want to actually, like, then that's usually, like, that's what I found for me personally. And like a lot of people we help, you reach that like 15, 20K a month moment, and you kind of like look up and you look around and you're like, wait a second, like, what kind of business am I building for myself? And do I even like this? Like,
it's like, this thing might actually work.
Yeah.
This actually might be a thing.
But like, if I want to scale it and I want to actually keep doing this year after year, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah. So another reason that this subject has been so top of mind for us lately, I think, is that we're seeing more and more people with the mismatch.
Right.
Like that, like trying to do the retainer on a one-time problem sort of situation, and just finding a lot of friction in the sales process, or finding friction in retention.
Yeah.
Like, people might still buy, but their LTV or their like average months on their roster are too low for the math to math for them. And so it's fun to go through this process with people and pinpoint, like, here's the recurring part of the problem for them. Like, you can solve this one-time thing. That's the tripwire. That's the thing they're here for. Although I think you're missing an opportunity here, or wherever the
That's
thing
my
is.
favorite part of watching you coach. Like, their eyes light up and they're like, oh shit, like, that is the recurring problem that I could charge a shitload for every month. It's like, yeah, you're doing it.
It's just a satisfying experience for them, because they go, oh, now I see how all of these things tend to snap into place,
Yeah.
right? Like, I can now look at this and go, yes, we're going to do this thing, but this thing only, so more specifically, more tangibly, it is like, people want to create strategies for people. Like, the need for strategy is technically a one-time problem, but the real thing is that they need the deployment and the implementation help. And they're like, even the deployment can become a one-time project, right, if you're not looking at it in the right way. So it's like, what is the part of this that restarts every month, that we need fresh every month, or we need the new thing every month because it supports our business, right? So like, again, this is why ghostwriters and demand gen folks, if you're in paid ads, like that side of the business, sales, if you're in outreach or prospecting, like all of those things need to be done on an ongoing basis. So it just increases the stickiness. Like, this isn't about saying like, oh, well, how do we lock our clients in forever? Like, they're still going to churn eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we stabilize your business and simplify things?
Yeah,
Right.
Totally. I love one of our clients, Evan, he goes in, he does an audit, and you pay for the audit, and he finds everything that's totally wrong with your HubSpot or whatever marketing ops tech you're running.
The tactics, like
The
of the
tactics, yeah.
individual components. And he goes, here's the laundry list of actual things versus like the problem that he's solving is still very much the same across the board. But then they go, here's where it hurts. And then he goes, okay, here's how exactly where we need to point.
Yeah. But I love the tactic he pulls next. And I didn't know he did this until I watched his sales call the other day. But he then says, if you want to hire me, it's going to be X amount ongoing for generally this time frame. So like, I can do it for you. You can take my audit, give it to someone else. But if you go with me, like, I roll my audit price into the first month. So you already get a discount. It's like, how could you not? It's just one of those pricing things. We should do a whole thing on. pricing tactics and negotiation stuff at some point. But
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, I dig this. That's like an easy, such an easy yes.
Because it's already, I mean, they've already paid for it, right? Like if you think that's like him rolling the investment forward is as if they just bought the whole thing in the first place.
Exactly.
So it's like, it makes you feel good as a buyer for sure. But it's interesting too, because his model, so being in marketing operations, very one-time problem on the surface. But what ends up happening is that there's like, he recognizes that things will break or business needs change and things come up. So he has a really interesting way of framing the recurring part of the business to stabilize a large percentage of his portfolio, where he's bringing on and doing these new audits and doing like, because it's very front loaded in terms of like the volume of work that he does, and then to have someone on a retainer to stick with him. It's a really interesting model, and that pinpointing that recurring part of it is something you don't see a lot of people do in that space. But you do see a lot of people being like, oh, well, you can have us on retainer. And
Right.
they're like, well, what would you do once this thing is done?
Right.
So like, he's got a really interesting way of framing up when you would need, or like why the need for having marketing operations on retainer in this capacity creates value for your business.
Right. And why it takes longer than just like a 2-week sprint. Like the way that he explains all of it, it makes him sound like the smartest person in the room about this stuff, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just being good. That's because he's super good at what he does.
He's really good at everything he does, yeah.
But like, that's also part of the thing. He is really good at what he does.
Most of the people we work with are brilliant at what they do. It's a framing problem, and it's a what kind of business do you want to build problem, much more than nobody that we work with is bad at what they do. Like, we wouldn't work with them.
I think very few people are super terrible at what they do. Like, I haven't really met someone who's like absolutely trash. Like, you probably wouldn't go into business for yourself if you didn't have some level of confidence that the thing you're doing is of quality or
You'd
substance.
be surprised, but no.
But like, I'm certainly not surprised when people are throwing up really impressive numbers, and I'm like, you are super good. I haven't seen anybody be able to do this type of thing. Or this is one of the more shocking ones. And maybe as I'm thinking about it, it's probably not super shocking, but when I tell people, I'm like, no one is fucking talking about this in the way that you're talking about. And they're like, really? Like, I had no idea. Like the curse of knowledge thing. It's like, you know so much that you think it's super obvious things. You think that everyone kind of has this foundation of this baseline of knowledge in this category that you operate in. And no, they don't. No one's talking about it this way. Or you see there's a lot of people who are doing this thing in this way, and no one's really doing it like that. So like, even just think about like an example of this is the way that we build. We set up our engagement model. There are a lot of ghostwriters out there that will interview you for an hour and then go away and try to make a bunch of content from that for the next month for you. I don't know any writer or any engagement model that by the time the call is done, the posts are ready for your review.
It's pretty cool. It's a fun thing to do.
It's like a magic trick for people, but they're like, oh, I get. Like, it is a fun moment the first time it happens to people.
Yesterday with Taylor was like the best. She was like, this, wait, what? What do you mean there's 4 posts already?
She was like, wait, you were serious about that. Like, you weren't you weren't making that up. It's like, yeah, this is a real thing.
She said so many good, like, the first call is my favorite because you ask everyone just basically like, give me the everything. Tell me everything about everything. And they just like give the gold that comes out of their mouth. Like, I could probably write like 50 LinkedIn posts just from that first conversation.
True.
I love it.
Yeah. Kickoff is fun.
Yeah.
Kickoff is fun. So I think we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. Let's anchor it. Like, for people listening, the best place to start is to think about, like, are you solving a project problem or a recurring problem?
Yeah.
And then a layer deeper, do you like it?
that's like a huge part of it that people don't take account for, is like, do I even give a shit? And I go one layer deeper, which is, well, what are the things like and they go, well, there's 5,000 ways that we can solve this problem. We can do this, 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 this. And I'm like, okay, well, which one of those things makes the greatest impact? If you had to only choose a one or a select few of those and roll it into a thing, which ones would you choose? Like, oh, well, we choose A, B, and C. It's like, great. Which ones do you love doing and which ones do you hate doing? And they're like, I hate doing C. I love doing A and B. It's like, great. A and B it is. Like, you gotta, it's like, oh, okay. I never really considered that was just like that part of that was the plan, or part of that is an option. But I will die on the hill that what problem do you solve is the most important question in business, because without that, like, you don't have the lens to even consider, like, this is like the anchor for me in this whole conversation, by the way. If you can answer the question, what problem do you solve? All right, let's take a stance on, or like, let's just objectively, is this problem solved every month, or is this like a one-time thing? And then we take an objective look at our service and we say, does this match? Does this make sense? Am I solving this thing? Do the mechanics and the engagement model of the service I'm trying to offer people, does that match the nature of the problem? Is there a recurring component to this problem? Or like even something, it could be tangential. It could come out of the solve. Hey, now it allows us to do X. That's something, and then you love doing X, and you can do that for everyone. You can write their social, like, now all of a sudden you have all this stuff, makes social a much more effective program. Hey, we offer the social off the back end of doing this work, whatever, right? So that, to me, like, just being cognizant of that probably will be a major unlock. It has been a major unlock for a lot of people who's like, oh, I never noticed this. And even just understanding, I think, why certain things work and why certain models are successful for some people and not for others.
It's huge. Because I think a lot of people just look around at what's working and they're like, I'll try that. There is something to be said about trying things to figure out what you like and, more importantly, what you don't like. Mm-hmm. So I don't think either one of us are saying don't go try shit. But by the time you come to us at 20K, you've probably tried everything, and now it's time to be like, right, let's map this out, pick one so we can scale. Like, you cannot scale by endlessly trying shit always.
Yeah, I just think also we have a preference in terms of model. Like, that's okay too.
Of course.
Like, I think the model that we find to be most effective is the recurring problem. Sell something on a retainer service. I don't tell people, like, don't lock people in for a year and a half, or 2 years or whatever. Like, all that shit aside, I know people get all bent out of shape about retainers. I don't really care about any of that. I'm just saying, stabilize the business.
Yep.
Based on your ability to generate leads and sales. And what we find is that, like, not everyone's a world-class content marketer. In fact, most people aren't. So how do we match this up? Your ability to generate leads.
I've found that generally the best content marketers, if that is what you're selling to other people, it's extremely difficult to do that for yourself at the same time. Like, most of your creative juices go to your clients. So then they feel shame about outsourcing it for themselves because they're supposed to be good at it. But it's like everyone needs a bit of space somewhere, you know?
Yeah, it is kind of funny that, like, that's like the whole, like, the circle of content is like some of the best content people who talk about creating content all have ghostwriters writing their content because they're doing content for other people.
There's no shame.
Or they're building other things. It's not even there's no shame. It's just like,
no, but people shame
true.
that. Like, people, the shame in the content writing space, especially right now with AI, is just, it's at a very ridiculously high level. My goal is for everyone to just stop feeling shame about the choices of how they put content into the world.
Yeah, I think that's a bubble thing too, though. Like, I don't think anyone thinks about it outside of the...
Hey, I live in a bubble on LinkedIn. We all do.
That's what I'm saying.
In my bubble.
I know, we got to get out of the bubble, because outside of that bubble, no one really cares.
That's why we started running paid ads. Try to reach people outside the bubble.
That's true. You got to write. That's why you start running as. How do you reach people outside the bubble? That's been a fun experiment. We'll talk about that
another time. Yeah.
Another time. So that's that for today. I think this is a good place to land this plane.
Great place to land the plane. It's been a pleasure flying with you, my friend.
Enjoy your destination, and we'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye.